Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. We're starting a couple minutes late today. Sorry, I will explain. Hold on one second. My cats knocked down a few comics, so I was sort of picking things up. You see that I sort of stack the comics that I've reviewed in the past week to the side, and my cats had just knocked it over, so I just needed to organize a little. But whatever. You don't care about that. You care about getting comic book news and reviews, right? Well, you came to the right place. My name is Chris. I'll be your host tonight. I'll say a couple shouts. There's my have you here in the chat room, Gene? Hello it's going really fast now. Hello, A-Man and Say No More Gov. Hello to Aaron Lee, Lorenzo, Archmage Frage, many, many more. I'm sorry that I can't catch you all. This is going fast, but I'm grateful to have you here. I'm not going to go into explicit detail here, but I am definitely dealing with some serious health issues. I've been seeing my doctor. I'm going to be seeing a specialist. Just last night, I was in the ER for several hours. I didn't go to sleep until 7 a.m. today. So basically, I slept from 7 to this afternoon. Did a little bit to get the show ready because I did get home. I got released in time. But yeah, it's pretty serious. I don't know exactly what it is yet, so I don't want to sort of speculate or worry you guys. But I am dealing with some very serious stuff. So sorry, that also sort of led to why I'm a little delayed today. Nothing that isn't treatable, okay? Nothing that isn't treatable, but very, very, very serious at the same time. Anyway, I'll know more and I'll share that with you all, but I just want to be sort of transparent to some degree. That's what's going on. As long as I'm talking about myself, I would love to mention that I put up a new episode on comic tropes yesterday that I definitely recommend checking out. I'm very this episode. I talk about the history of the Spider-Man Broadway musical. I know some other people have before, but I got to see it in person, so I've got a few opinions there, and I think I have an interesting summary that I think a lot of people will like. It seems to be getting a good response, so I wanted to plug that. As long as I'm okay, I wouldn't really. As long as I'm okay, I'm not in any pain. We'll put it. I'm not in any real pain. But am I okay? That will be overstating clear. It's not going great. I also would like to mention something about myself, though. So, I've mentioned this before. I've got a cover. I've got a campaign going where you can buy a cover that I illustrated for an issue of Vampirella. And that was set to end tonight originally, but it's been going steady. It never really trickled off and died. So Dynamite and I decided we have the option to do this, and we're going to extend it 3 more weeks. It seems like some people are still slow to discover it. There's lots of people that watch my show that aren't watching every week. They don't necessarily my social media. A lot of you here in chat are some of my most engaged people, so I'm sure you guys know, but a lot of people watch the, videos like this later or stumble upon a social media post later. So I am extending that 3 more weeks. Everything is still going to be able to be delivered in time, but I'm just letting you know, I want as many people as possible to have a shot at getting this. And, I've got this little screen up here sort of indicating more or less where we were this morning. And I'm very happy with this number, but I'll also share with you privately that for this to be considered not just sort of something that's happening, but be considered a success, we'd probably want to be at about twice that. honestly. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep promoting it for another few weeks. I'm really proud of it, and I'm excited to share it with people. I think a lot of people will like it. Hopefully, you'll consider getting one if you haven't, and if not, maybe you consider sharing it on one of your social media profiles, or at least telling a friend. That would mean a lot to me. It really would. And it's led to some other things. I won't announce it until it's like coming out, but I'm gonna be writing a small thing in another comic, so that's kind of exciting. Anyway, I thought we'd switch things up slightly here. A lot of times, I start the show reviewing the comics that I've read this week. I thought this week I'd save that to the later portion of the show and just start with news. So, yeah. That's a great question, a roguish type. It is more about the overall dollar amount, where like things, like we're sort of at more or less a break even point here. And if we double it, that's where there's enough profit to say it's worth doing again. So hopefully that makes sense. This is not something I am going to get rich off of, but I am proud of it, and I want to share it to as many people as possible. And so we're expanding that a little. Oh, you know what? As long as I'm plugging things, I'll plug my friend, because Jamilin says Street Wolves. This is a buddy of mine created a really cool. Actually, here, you know what? Let me show it like this, and yeah, this is a role-playing game that a really good friend of mine created recently. So if you look it up, it's sort of, if you've ever played things like Shadowrun or Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, it's like that, but this is set in like an 80s-esque, Miami Vice, maybe a little cyberpunk infused area. And he really had an artist create a great shirt for this. So I wear this thing around proudly. Oh, hey man, that means a lot to me. I really appreciate it, because definitely every contribution means a lot. Let's see. Thank you, Kevin Connor. Thank you. All the way up from the Great White North. I guess you would consider it the Great White Middle. I don't know, but yeah. Street Wolves is cool. Street Wolves is cool. So I'm very proud of my friend. So thanks for asking, Jamilin. Let's go ahead and do some news, because there was definitely some wild stuff that came up this week. And I'm going to start with several pages of news that are all slightly related. Now, a lot of you out there that follow comics have probably heard that Amazon's ComiXology is kind of melting down. They had massive cuts to their department. It seems to be operating off of a skeleton crew. While nothing has been formally announced, and why would they, there is a lot of speculation that Amazon may just end ComiXology and just roll everything into their Kindle department. That seems to be where all messages from the media asking for an update on ComiXology, they all seem to be forwarded to the Kindle department. Interesting. But there are now some competitors. So there are some hungry companies that understand that a lot of us enjoy reading comics digitally. It's a super nice experience, especially when you're like traveling, or if you have a smaller place and you don't want to crowd it up with tons of long boxes. Digital comics can be a great option. So here's the first piece of news I have. There's a company called Global Comics, and they partnered with some pretty big companies right away. This was all announced this week. Image, Boom, Archie. It's a mobile app that would let you read comics. Comic Book Resources was the one that broke the news, and some of the companies they're partnering with that they announced this week, like I just said, Image, Boom, Archie, Tokyo Pop is a pretty big one. And they'd already formed strategic partnerships with TKO Studios, Valiant, Source Point Press, Humanoids, a bunch more, Mad Cave, all sorts of places. Just to give you an idea of Global Comics, like what they are, they said that they've had a 50% user increase since the beginning of 2023, and we're only 3 months in. Um, the Anyway, they're launching, like, these new partners, the end of this first quarter, so really, really soon. Really, really soon. Let's see. I'm glad that this makes your, Mondays better. It makes my Mondays too better too. Yeah, yeah. Just Google it, Street Wolves, it by Table Cat Games. I think you'll like it. So there's the first company that I had to mention, Global Comics, and, there's gonna be some more. Let's see. Bet you it's because DC won't make Lex Luthor the hero of DC, and Jeff Bezos is bitter because of it. Jeff Bezos basically is Lex Luthor. He looks like him. Yeah. Let's see. ComiXology Unlimited is still a thing with a huge selection of books you can borrow, up to 50 books at a time. Nice. That is nice that it's still up here. I've used ComiXology. There was a time when it was a fantastic app. Once they sort of integrated with Amazon, you lost some of the functionality that made it so nice. In fact, I'm going to speak to some of those functionality pieces that people like with digital comics as I move on to this next piece. For reading comics called Omnibus. And the Omnibus digital app is created by these two guys, Kenny Myers and Travis Schier. And I guess that they are big tech guys that are also big comic book readers. And so they are aiming to recreate what people liked about ComiXology, such as in-app purchases. Yes, please. Who wants to deal with the convoluted system Amazon has now, where you have to go to the Amazon website to buy something, and then you can download it in ComiXology? And they just do that because they don't want to give Apple a cut of those in-app purchases, which I get from a business sense, but it makes the app completely clunky. It doesn't work well. Omnibus is going to be launching on iPad first, just to be clear, and then iPhone, Android, PC, and Mac. So basically all the big platforms. Some of the places they are partnering with: Image, Valiant, Ahoy, Vault. You'll have sort of an overall one here. You can have like sort of just that companies, lots of different ways to sort through it. They will allow you to either stream or download to read later, like if you're on a trip. And you might be asking by now, you're like, okay, cool. Like, Image and, Valiant and Boom and everything. That's great that these guys are working with so many different people. What about Marvel and DC? Well, what about Marvel and DC? First of all, they each have their own app that they probably want to see how much that grows, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I suspect that they may have long-term contracts with Amazon. So it may take a while for those contracts to expire, and then they could probably work with somebody that's not exclusive. Let's see. Yeah, Randy, I know, put some of your comics in the digital space. I know you've put stuff on Tapas before, so definitely let me know if you use Omnibus, what it's like. It's yeah, Amazon really they had something good for a while when they bought ComiXology. It was a really nice app. Almost every comic. It's not. Yeah, you could say that it's a 30% markup. I believe in-app purchases, Apple takes about 30%. So, you're not going to be able to sell a comic for 30% more and think that you're going to sell it over somebody that's selling it for less. That means you all have to sell it for the same price. And if you do it through Apple, that means, you lose 30% of that sale to Apple. But there's already a markup. There's probably still profit in there to be had. People are just being kind of greedy. No, 100% right, Ashley. Digital comics should not be difficult. This has been figured out. They have digital like protection on comics. They have good readers in apps. So this should not be rocket science. We just talked about it, Sam. Let's see. The fact that Amazon's look inside feature when you're considering buying a comic is a better reader than the actual comic reader is ridiculous. It's frustrating. It really is. And then there's a third one I thought I'd mention. Vault is doing a very specific thing for just them. Vault Unbound. They announced this recently at South by Southwest that they're partnering with a tech company called Kabaji to create both an online community space as well as a digital reading experience. So in addition to being able to read the comics, you'd be able to interact with, the community, the creators, and they could have extra content like behind the scenes explanations of how the book was created, maybe virtual events. Marvel's been doing that on their app lately. And then the big thing that we don't know yet for Vault would be, is there going to be any delay between print and digital, or would it be simultaneous like the others? I don't know. But I thought that was interesting that in this past week alone, all three of these news stories came out, and I was like, wow. People are nipping at Amazon's heels. They definitely see blood in the water, Wow, Joe Dent, thank you so much. Let's see. Hello there to Chris and Chrissy. She's upstairs with the cats. Hello to Chad as well. I hope everyone is cool. Well, we're even cooler when you're here, so thank you very much. Oh, good. A roguish type got us some actual figures here. Apple and Google charge 15% for sales of $1 million and under. Then it goes up to 30%. Okay. That's a lot, though. That's a lot. 15%. Whew. We have more news, though, aside from all this digital comic stuff. You're like, what else is there? Well, I thought this was a little juicy. Ben Affleck. I would argue that he did a good job playing Bruce Wayne / Batman. I did not like any of the movies that had him thus far. I just didn't care for them that much, but I didn't think he did a bad job. I like Ben Affleck quite a bit as an actor and as a director. Speaking of directing, he's out right now on like giving interviews because he's got a movie coming out, Air. That's about like the formation of the Air Jordan sneaker. It looks pretty like funny and interesting. It's got Matt Damon. It's got who played Michael Bluth? Jason Bateman, and Ben Affleck's in it. I believe Affleck directed it. And the Hollywood Reporter just like point blank said like, hey, James Gunn is now taking over the, running DCU. Would you consider directing, something in that world? And he said, I would not direct something for the James Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to do that and direct in the way that they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. It seems like he's pretty done with DC. It does not sound like he had a great experience. In fact, he goes into some more detail here that's really kind of depressing, talking about his time making Justice League. And to be clear, he's mostly talking about when Joss Whedon came in and did the reshoots and stuff. He was in Vanity Fair here. He said, Justice League made me go, I'm out. I never want to do any of this again. I'm not suited. That was the worst experience I've ever seen in a business which is full of some shitty experiences. It broke my heart. Folks, he went on to say that this is what drove him to start drinking. He said that he was just sitting in a hotel room in London, and if he didn't start drinking, he was just going to jump out the window. It made him so depressed. He hated his time doing that. I feel so bad for Ben Affleck there. You're like, wow, this we got like, a slightly below average movie, but it sounds like the people that worked on it, like nobody has good things to say. I mean, Ray Fisher and Gal Gadot both said that they had problems. It's just awful. Um, yeah, that's how bad it was. Exactly. Salamander says, never realized it was that bad. He says it was his worst experience, period. Wow. Justice League specifically. He did say that he feels like the performance he gives in The Flash, he's like, I'm only in it a little bit, but he's like, I think I finally figured out the character and I had a good experience on that. That's nice, but a little too late, right? Oh, yeah, no, he was in bad shape after this, Sean. Like, he was drinking, he put on some weight. I think that was when his marriage fell apart. Like, he got in really bad shape after Justice League. It was pretty depressing. Let's see. I remember Kevin Eastman saying trying to get new heavy metal movie made was a bad experience. Yeah, he probably did. Yeah, in good news, Tom Cruise said that he asked for a private screening of The Flash, so they had a courier bring it over. He watched it at home, and then the courier took it back to DC, and Tom Cruise said he liked it. But, I feel like they're like, hey, Tom, here's $1 million. Can you please say something nice about this? I don't think he was bad in any version of it as an actor. There were things about the director's cut that I liked a lot. Uh, Overall, it's a much better movie. There's more for the characters to do. There's less weird humor. It looks nice. But then there's like this tacked on ending that's like almost 30 minutes that is just terrible. And it kind of like ruins things a little for me. Let's see. Hopefully, the Flash can be all right with all the Ezra Miller controversy. Everybody seems to be saying that it's a good movie, so we'll see. Yeah, that's a succinct way to put it. The Beowulf. The material was bad. He wasn't bad. I totally agree, Joshua. That's what I was saying. Yeah, it was like a good movie, and then like all these endings at the end that you're just like, like the heroes have saved the day. Can we please just end this? This is pointless. He got himself in great shape for it. He had, there wasn't much for him to do as Bruce Wayne necessarily, but he was good. He was good. I think that's all I got to say about Ben Affleck. All I can say is I feel for him. Staying with some tough news for DC Comics, I guess. They were hit with some layoffs this week, and if anybody's been paying attention ever since Discovery bought Warner Brothers, they've been looking for ways to cut expenses, and some of that did involve cuts throughout the whole company. And it seemed like DC had gotten through kind of unscathed. It seemed like, they finally finished the cuts. This past week, sadly, there were a few cuts. We don't have complete specifics on exactly who got let go, but it could have been worse, as I will say. So this was like Thursday that everybody was like meeting and getting told what was happening. They're restructuring things a bit. One of the big things to come out of this is that Allison Gill, she's an editor that's been in the comics industry over 40 years. She's been at DC over 24 years. Definitely one of the most tenured employees that they have at DC these days. She's a senior VP. She is stepping down. They called it retiring. I'm sure it's all related to this restructuring. But while we don't know everybody that got let go or how many people or anything, the reports that I saw on places like the Popverse and Comics Beat said that it was a small amount of layoffs, like percentage wise anyway, and that that none of it came from editorial. all the cuts were sort of from the business side. So probably people in things like marketing and production, not really the creative side. Could have been worse. Could have been worse. Yeah, you say retiring in quotes. I mean, I think when you're at that kind of level, when you're at a senior VP level, basically they tell you that, they're going to be making your position redundant, but they allow you to resign so that you can sort of get a nice retirement package. That's like something that they do to executives at a lot of big companies. Not that I know that happened here, but that's probably something that they allowed her to do. Probably. So we will see what the fallout of that is. If it's not really an editorial, I doubt that we as comics readers will experience too much of what's going on. I don't think it will affect our reading experience, but it's always worth just keeping up with the news just to see if anything changes, so that we're not completely surprised. Let's see. Joshua says, I just feel like I am not seeing inspired new titles from DC. Everything feels like a gimmick except the Wade Morris stuff and some of the King and some of the Kennedy. Okay, I've killed your point. Yeah, I was going to say there are. I haven't been reading a lot of DC comics for a while, and I'm starting to read a bunch of them. Dawn of DC is an easy jumping on point if you're curious, and I like the Wade Morris stuff and I like the Tom King stuff. So I'm in. Yes, that's Perry White doing his Vince McMahon impression. You're fired. Excuse me. I can't do those voices anymore. I don't know if any of you caught this, but there was somebody that leaked the Ant-Man 3 script shortly before the movie came out on Reddit. It was on the Marvel Studios spoilers subreddit. And Marvel found out who that was. They got a warrant that Reddit had to comply with, and they gave up the name of this person because Marvel is going to prosecute. They are going to sue this individual for various copyright infringements. I don't know that leak really. I think it would be very hard to prove what kind of financial damage, if any, it had on this movie. I enjoyed the movie okay. I didn't think it was great, but I thought I had a good time at it. That said, it's not doing well. It's made 450 million worldwide. Is that profitable? Yeah, but compared to most Marvel movies, that's not excellent, especially not one that is introducing a big villain they plan to use and stuff like that. So, oh, that's interesting. JLS Comics says that the subreddit is still set to private right now. Wow. It is not profitable yet? Oh, okay. I thought that the budget was way less than that. And so I was even thinking that with marketing costs that they would have made a profit by now, but I don't know. Yeah, I could definitely see that as a possibility. Eric O'Grady showing up at some point. It depends how long, the MCU goes. If it goes another 10 years, Paul Rudd's not going to be there 10 years from now. And yeah, they might bring in somebody like Eric O'Grady. That's definitely a possibility. It was, I think that Marvel is definitely reassessing things. I think that Feige knows that Phase 4 has only done okay. It hasn't done excellent. From Phase 1 to 2 to 3, it built and built and built. And post Phase 3, the Phase 4 stuff, it's been definitely more hit and miss. I personally have not disliked anything that I've seen here, but I wouldn't call any of it spectacular. I would say out of it, the best one was probably the third Spider-Man movie. That was pretty darn good. And I have liked some of the TV shows quite a bit, but they've been producing a lot of TV shows, and I'll have some news about that later. Somebody posted this in the chat earlier, but they did release Victoria Alonso, who was the head of the visual effects department at Marvel for, I'm pretty sure since before Marvel Studios was a thing. I think like 14 years or something like that. I like that. 10 years from now, Paul Rudd will look even younger. I think that Phase 4 was definitely meant to be mostly a reset and sort of mostly starting from scratch with some legacy characters. And that's fine. That part's fine. But one thing that even in Phase 1 they had like littler hints, but it was always hinting that it was moving towards a connected universe and then something bigger. And Phase 4 hasn't consistently had that same direction overall. Now, some people don't want to watch every Marvel movie, but I think that you need little strands to not just tie it together, but show that it's going somewhere. Show that there's like a threat or something on the horizon. Everything goes in waves, and it peaked strong. Like, I think that Avengers Infinity War and Endgame were really, really strong. I'm not going to call them excellent cinema, but it was very crowd pleasing. Lot of great stuff. And I think Marvel knows that they now need to slow down because they've delayed a lot. They've delayed everything, both movies and TV. We're going to talk about that later, but they're definitely making a lot of changes, and I think that they might realize that they can't just sort of coast. They can't coast. Yeah, exactly. There was still some excellent stuff. Werewolf by Night was really, really cool. JoJo apparently also didn't like Eternals, which I know wasn't super popular. I didn't dislike Eternals. I probably would have liked it a little bit more if it did more with the deviance that was closer to the Jack Kirby comics. That would have been something I liked, but I didn't think it was a bad movie. But they also didn't push themselves to make it excellent. Hey, Daniel, hope you're having a good time in Japan. Well, we've got lots more news, and comics to review. So let's move on. This is a little heartbreaking, but I think it's important to honor him. And probably a bunch of you already saw the news that actor Lance Reddick passed away. I don't think anyone expected that. I mean, why would we? He's in John Wick 4, which is coming out like this coming weekend. Like, there's no reason to think that he was ill. He's been a busy guy. He was just in that Resident Evil series. He does a lot of voice work in games like Destiny. Apparently, he just passed away from natural causes. Only 60 years old, though. But here's what's important to comic stuff. Is he was voicing Hellboy for the Web of Weird video game. I think that sounds like a great idea. Lance Reddick definitely has a great voice. And the idea of him as Hellboy, I could see it. I really can see it. Also, apparently Lance Reddick was a legit gamer. I looked into it, and the guy played a lot of Destiny. He was like literally still online playing Destiny just a few days before he passed away. So I guess he really liked that game. But this tweet over here on the left comes from the official Hellboy game, and it seems to imply that he must have done enough that, like, he filled his role or something, because the question is, are they going to have to recast the voice or anything? But that's not what this tweet implies, which is nice. It says, our hearts are with Lance's family, friends, colleagues, and fans. Lance was a brilliant performer, generous with his time and attention. He had talent beyond compare, and we remain honored to have him as our Hellboy. They didn't say like that he worked there, or that, like, it's sad that we have to recast, or just say nothing. They said we remain honored to have him as our Hellboy. So to me, that implies that he finished that work. I hope so. Lance Reddick, if you haven't seen him, he was great on The Wire. He was great on Fringe. He's also really funny. He was on Comedy Bang Bang and the Eric Andre show. There's a super, super funny sketch from season 2, episode 1 of Comedy Bang Bang, where Reggie Watts needs to, I forget what information he has to get, but it's like online, and he basically enters the internet, and it's a Tron-like world, and Lance Reddick plays Angel Fire, which was pretty darn funny. I hadn't considered it, but maybe I will. Maybe I will when it comes out. Who knows? Yeah. I technically do have a Twitch account to stream to. I don't know that world very well, but it could be fun. So I will try to remain hopeful that this video game comes out. It looks incredible. Like, it has a look that really looks like Mike Mignola's art. So I hope this comes out really good and that it's a nice tribute to Lance Reddick. That would be nice. I was a big fan of Fringe. I was a really big fan of Fringe, so I liked him on that. How about my clickbaity title there, even though this isn't like in the thumbnail or anything? Borat as Mephisto? That's the rumor. Jeff Snyder, he posts a lot of Hollywood industry hot gossip. He says, according to what he's heard, that Marvel is literally filming a Mephisto special like that Werewolf by Night special right now. And that Sacha Baron Cohen has in fact been cast as the famous character. Now, we'd already heard rumors from like super legit sources like Deadline that he was cast as Mephisto for the show Ironheart. But we didn't know anything about him getting like a special or anything. But I guess, according to Jeff Snyder, they're filming it because they've got the whole Agatha Harkness set and they're filming that right now. So I guess like they were able to combine the productions to make this special and sort of save a lot of expenses. I don't know. Could be interesting, I guess. What will he sound like? You know, my Silver Surfer soul. That was a terrible Borat. My wife. I would imagine Silver Surfer, they're going to hold off until the Fantastic Four movie, but Silver Surfer definitely has history with Mephisto, so that's something they could play up later. It is nice. I get a soul. But I don't know what to make of that. Mephisto is a cool villain. Sometimes. A lot of times. I didn't think I'd want a special about Mephisto, but depends on who's making it, I guess. I do think Sacha Baron Cohen is legit really a good actor in a bunch of things. Man, at one point he was going to be the star of the Freddie Mercury movie, and you know, a few years ago, he's got the look. I think he's got the acting chops, but apparently the remaining Queen band members wanted the movie to be more about the whole band, not just Freddie Mercury. So like that's what sort of killed that version of the project. Yeah, you're right. He could go pretty broad if he wants to. That's in Mephisto's nature. You think he's too one-dimensional? Could be. Yeah, could be. Could be as a protagonist. As an antagonist, you know, he hews very closely to the Faustian archetype. And that's worked very well in certain comics. I maintain that there's that one issue of Silver Surfer that John Buscema drew where, isn't it Mephisto like pits? No, maybe that's Loki. I thought it was Mephisto though, like the pit Thor against Silver Surfer. Boy, it's been so many years. I'm having trouble remembering what I'm thinking of. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, now they can adapt one more day. Gee, that would be great. That would just be great. You know who used Mephisto well? Um, I'm trying to think of the Daredevil run that followed Frank Miller's. It had art by John Romita Jr., and I'm trying to remember the writer. She did some interesting things with Mephisto, sort of like making Daredevil's life miserable. It was really cool and interesting, but I'm having trouble remembering what writer I'm thinking of right now. Yeah, Ann Nesenti. Thanks, everyone. Ann Nesenti. Appreciate it. She did some good stuff with Mephisto. Seems like the Shazam movie did not do well. Let me talk about that a little bit. I went and saw it. Um, I was not expecting much. It was better than I went in expecting, which I guess that isn't saying much. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It definitely could have been a lot better, but it was pretty entertaining, and there was a lot to like about it. It looked good. Um, a bunch of the characters were great. Freddie Freeman totally steals the show. The actor that's playing Freddie Freeman, he just does. They do some weird things too, because it's been like 4 years or something since they made the last one, but they say that it's only been 2 years. And the actor who plays Billy Batson is not in it very much. So that's pretty weird. I'm not going to spoil anything about the movie. I was just like giving really broad thoughts. Also, I do wish that they'd found some sort of more comic book enemy to use, but it's not bad. It's really not. I was surprised. I was surprised. It's not as good as the first one, but it's not far away. It's not too far from it. But it did underperform, and that's like the news that I have here. It brought in about $30 million this past weekend. That is pretty far off from 4 years ago. Now, of course, hey, we went through the pandemic. Box offices are down, but still, the original in 2019 brought in 53.5 million. You want to be, close to that or a little more if you want to continue this franchise, especially with DC rebooting, but that doesn't seem likely to me. It only made $4.3 million in China compared to the original's 29.7. So, yeah. The main character is in it, yes. Hello, Tari. Nice to have you here. Unclear whether he was being anti-vax or if he was more talking about the problems with big pharmacy companies, which is a legit thing. So yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it though. Like, but you're right. Like, there are some TV spots that spoil one of the cameos, so that's things. I liked it a lot more than Black Adam. I didn't care for Black Adam very much. I liked it more than Black Adam because this one at least had a sense of humor to it, and you know, Black Adam was kind of a passive protagonist in that movie. I would say, I don't know. It I wanted it to be better. But it wasn't bad at all. Oh, I just got a text that I missed the soup. Look at that. There. Double salute. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Chrissy, for giving me the heads up that I almost missed it. Better than Quantumania. I mean, at this point, we're really sort of like fighting for like which is the best of the rotten apples. I wouldn't call either of those movies like, an F or a D or anything like that, but I'd say that they're like fighting for like jockeying for position for like a high C for a grade, something in there. It's I don't think it's overall superhero fatigue, Dr. Shubil. I really don't. I think it's all about execution. I think it's about execution because uh, a good superhero movie is still going to do huge. I really believe that. I really don't think that people are just tired of superheroes in general because by that nature, people would have gotten tired of comic books or people would have gotten tired of books or musicals or plays. No, I think that like, it's a legit genre that just needs a little more care and attention. I think that people have gotten a little lazy expecting that, like, anything with a recognizable superhero and a big budget for effects is going to connect with the audience. And no, you still need, interesting characters and interesting conflict, um, some surprises, some good humor, or some good scares, some good drama. I think I think personally, I just think it's about execution. That's what I think. Giving you the blue lantern and hoping all is well. Well, I'm alive and I'm home. Look, it's up for debate. To my knowledge, there hasn't been, say, like, a really good polling company that's put out there to the general public, some very carefully worded surveys to gauge if there is audience fatigue with this. But I wouldn't call superheroes a whole genre per se. It's more of a subgenre, and it can do a lot of different things, because Winter Soldier was a great movie that was sort of a political thriller. And then Guardians of the Galaxy was space opera. Now, they're both technically superhero movies, but they're very different, and they're both very good. So, yeah. But anyway, the bottom line is it did not do well. So that probably doesn't bode well for this one getting a third movie, which was in the cards if it does really, really well. Yeah, I think we all want Gunn's Superman to be great, but I think, look at it, and there's a lot to love about the original Richard Donner Superman. But has anyone made a perfect Superman movie yet, or close to that? Not yet. Not the same way that I would say, like, something like Dark Knight. I like Superman from 1978. I like it a lot. But Lex Luthor's plan is pretty boring. There wasn't they couldn't do the same stuff with the effects. It was a great Superman. Lois Lane was pretty good. There's a lot, like Gene Hackman was great, but like Lex Luthor's plan wasn't great. So I feel like there just still has not been a great Superman movie. I really don't think that there has. This is sort of news, but it's really just something I wanted to pass on to you folks. I think I mentioned this when Barnes and Nobles had their last sale because they had a buy one get one half off for all Image comics, and I think that must have done very well for them because they now have a buy one get one half off sale for all manga through March 26th. That's just under a week. There are some things that they've cut out like box sets, but the pretty much all the individual manga. So if there's any series that you're reading, it's a great time to, catch up and get a few good deals. I just thought I'd pass that on. I like that. Ned Beatty was good comic relief. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Mr. Smocker! Oh, that's an excellent question. I know it's in store. Is it online? I don't know. We'd have to go to the Barnes and Noble website to see. So I will. Let's see. It looks like it's listing it on their website too. Yeah. So that's good. You are definitely welcome. There's a lot of great books that I would recommend. Some of them, like that I know are popular, I haven't read. I have not read Jujutsu Kaisen. I know that that's super popular. I'm very, very early on in Demon Slayer. I'm not loving the Demon Slayer manga. It's okay, but I don't love it. But I love Berserk. I really, really like My Hero Academia. These days I'm reading Slam Dunk and Chainsaw Man, and those are both pretty good. Slam Dunk is excellent, but this will not be one that they have at the stores. And a lot of them are on back order that take at least a month. Like I just ordered like volume 10 at Barnes and Noble, and it said it wouldn't get it to me until May. I was like, oh, forget that. I'll find it somewhere else, or I'll pay like $2 or $3 more to get it on eBay, I guess. No. You know what? Gundam is definitely a blind spot for me. I did have a period when I was living in Boston where I was building a lot of those Gundam model kits. But when I moved across the country, I did donate all of those. I'm sorry, not Boston, Virginia. Yeah, Northern Virginia, just outside DC. I donated them all to Goodwill because I just had to eliminate stuff. And I've never read the manga or watched the anime, so I don't know that. I've never read any manga. I know this is so loaded, but anything you'd recommend for dipping my toe in the water? It would depend on what kind of stories you like. So if you tell me like some stories that you like, I bet that there's some great stuff. But you know, one of my favorite storytellers in manga is Naoki Urasawa. So he's got some shorter stories like Pluto that are easy to try and see if you like his storytelling sensibilities. I think Monster and 20th Century Boys are pretty great epics. No, Wally, I haven't read that yet. At least I don't think I have. So I'll have to get that. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Akira's a pretty fantastic one. Just gorgeous. Gorgeous. I do like Death Note. Death Note's pretty cool. Death Note's good. Yeah, these are good recommendations. I like noir a bit. Loved the Cowboy Bebop anime. Okay. Noir and sort of sci-fi type stuff. That's I'd have to think about it because I'm sort of distracted with like running the show. But there's all I can say is there's definitely great. If you like noir, then actually you know what? Go with Pluto. Try Pluto. Yeah, these are some good ones. Ghost in the Shell would probably be another one to at least try. See if that's your speed. I like Witch Hat Atelier too. It's really cute. It's really cute. The nice thing is that like if you find something that you like, it's a really big world, and that shouldn't be overwhelming. It just means that like there's going to be other stuff that might be a little older. Like, you know, I just told you guys, I'm really enjoying reading Slam Dunk, a basketball manga from the 90s, but it's fantastic. It's really, really like both exciting. Really love it. Domo is a little expensive, but it is very good. Yeah, just 3 issues. A little expensive. I'm going to move on though. Enough about this manga stuff. Yo, sounds fun. This was so Marvel had a 60th anniversary X-Men virtual event on their app, okay? And they announced some really cool stuff. I also want to acknowledge this. Thank you so much, Sam. I love the Spider-Man musical episode. Thank you so much for watching. That means everything to me. Thank you. That means a lot. Oh, yeah, Lone Wolf and Cub. I've got that. Yeah. Lone Wolf and Cub is great. Better than you might think. Oh, if you like humor, I think Spy Family is fantastic. Just fantastic. If you like more action, sort of like fighting stuff, then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Fist of the North Star are both good. So I'm reading a lot of manga these days. If you like sort of like crime, I would say that one that I've been really enjoying lately is Tokyo Revengers. So as you can see, I've got a lot of manga around these days. It's a nice reading experience to be able to sort of binge on this stuff. But look at this. So this will be the 3rd year that Marvel is having an X-Men event called the Hellfire Club Gala. Basically, ever since the mutants all united and live on this island of Krakoa, they have an annual event where superheroes and celebrities and, of course, mutants dress up in really elaborate gala costumes. And they're going to do it for real. Let me acknowledge these super chats. This is nice. What up, namesake? Milton Christopher of Patreon fame. Thank you for the support. Don't know if you've gotten to it, but when do the Vampirella comics ship? Eagerly awaiting my 3. Should be June. Should be June. Great question. And please, folks, please consider getting a copy. It would mean everything to me. Link is in the description to this episode. Steve, Slam Dunk, I got to read that one. People tell me it's great. What comic manga characters would make a great basketball team? Who is on your squad? I would say the X-Men would legit make a good basketball team. They obviously play baseball a lot, but I think that they would also make for a good basketball team. I would choose sort of like a 90s or 80s version of X-Men. So it's all about like the Hellfire Club Gala is all about dressing up in really ornate, elaborate costumes. There's a real life the Met Gala, the Met Gala, where celebs wear really elaborate, crazy outfits. Well, they've been doing that now in the X-Men comics, and so this summer for the third one, Marvel and D23, they sort of combined to announce this together. I don't quite get what the Disney 23 thing has to do with it, but whatever. They're going to have a real life gala at the San Diego Comic-Con. So I believe that means that they are putting on an event and like probably having professional cosplayers wear outfits. They didn't have the full details. And one of the nice things, they're of course encouraging attendees to dress up as well. So that's really cool. I think that will lead to some really creative cosplay. And I think one of the best things about going to a convention these days is seeing the cosplay. The level of skill is astonishing these days. Astonishing. I'm pretty sure that She-Hulk has gone to the gala before. I'm pretty sure. Speedball. Yes, Speedball would be a good player. You're right. Plastic Man. Yes, you guys are thinking the Fantastic Four. Yes, Paste Pop Pete. I would make the ball stick to my opponents and get them for traveling. It'd be hard to pull off those Dodderman designs in real life. It depends on how much money you have. But yes, Russell Dodderman has especially designed a lot of just incredible outfits for various characters in Marvel. It's really cool. What else we got here? What else we got here? We knew this one, but this has been confirmed. We knew this basically, but James Gunn has been confirmed to not just write Superman Legacy, he's going to direct it as well. It was rumored, now it's confirmed. I found a quote sort of related. A bunch of different DC writers were being interviewed this week by Comic Book Resources about Dawn of DC, sort of a nice fresh start for jumping onto these comics. And Tom King said about James Gunn, he said that is not at all corporate synergy or any sort of marketing plan. That's just James Gunn speaking from his heart. He loves those comics. He read them and he talks about them. He's just saying that like James Gunn is a legit comics fan. So hope that's true. Aw, thank you, Randy. I'm not on for much tonight. Glad to see you're doing a little better. Take care of yourself and catch you later. I'm here. I'm alive. I hope I will be for a long, long time. We shall see. The only thing I've heard about James Gunn's idea for Superman is that he'll have the character wrestling with his sort of aristocratic Kryptonian heritage, as well as his very down-to-earth working class human parents, and how he sort of reconciles his lineage there. I think that that's valid for a character to feel like they're being pulled in more than one direction. You don't just have to be adopted or something. You know, people could have two different parents that like are very different, or maybe you just feel that you have very different interests than what your parents are sort of guiding you towards. So I think that could be a decent internal conflict. We'll be hopeful. We'll be hopeful. I'm not sick as in like cough, cough. I don't feel well. I'm sick in terms of like internally my body is failing me, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And where that fits into his place on Earth. Yep. Thanks for adding. Hey, if he's reading stuff like All-Star Superman as inspiration, I feel like that alone is starting from a great place. That's a good take on Superman. Very fun. Brainiac would be fun. We've never seen him in a movie, so that would be fun. We've only seen him in like animation and live TV shows and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, we knew that, but it's been confirmed. As long as we're talking about DC stuff, I just liked how this looked. And this week, DC and Burbank City debuted a Wonder Woman statue. This is a 600-pound bronze statue of Wonder Woman that they have placed in front of the Warner Brothers studio tour area where people line up on Warner Boulevard. So it's just right, this is a public street. I've driven down there plenty of times. Anyone can walk past this and see this. It's based on Jenny. I'm going to butcher her name. Friesen, I hope. Jenny Friesen's design. And if you remember, they did already make another bronze statue of Batman based on a Jim Lee design before this. So just sort of a partner piece. Yeah, that is a lot of bronze. That could make a lot of pennies. Oh, wait, that's copper. Have him fight a giant spider. James Gunn. Listen to what the people are saying. This is what people want. I think it's a pure coincidence that the enemies at the end of Superman 3 turned robotic and stuff, and that it was about a computer. I think it's a pure coincidence. I don't think that those writers knew anything about the character of Brainiac. I think it's a pure coincidence. Yeah, I think we talked about that last week. Tom King writing Wonder Woman. Yeah, we did. We talked about it on this show last week. He's going to have her as a sort of a fugitive, looking to figure out what's going on, because it looked like maybe an Amazonian was framed for murder. Yep. Third place Olympic medal holders. This is a little known fact. They don't get to keep those medals. You have to give it back, and the committee melts it down and just sells it. You've seen both? Okay. The Batman statue is in front of AMC Burbank 16. Very nice. I haven't seen that one in person, actually, now that I think of it. So maybe I'm giving some thought to maybe going down to LA for a couple days in April or something. We'll see. Maybe May, but soon. I want to see that in person if I happen to be driving by. Spider-Verse 2 was supposed to come out last October. Apparently, it's still making changes. But that's not necessarily a bad thing when you read the interviews about it. So it was delayed to June. And this week in Empire Magazine, Oscar Isaacs was being interviewed, talked about it. He's playing Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. I thought this quote was interesting. He goes, "It helps that a lot of these characters are masked, so you can keep changing lines right up to the last second. For something as seemingly rigid as animation, the amount of experimentation we got to do on this movie was really fun." And basically, I think it's more not changing anything substantive like plot or anything. Just talking about how this movie does still allow the actors to improvise, and that Lord and Miller are encouraging their actors to do that, so that maybe they find something really funny or really natural that they can grab, and that it's not necessarily that hard to add that to a movie where you happen to have a bunch of masked characters. They will add little improvisation lines to animations that have been done pretty late in the process. You just sort of do it either off screen, like the characters like facing away from the camera, or you maybe just do a little facial animation. So that's not abnormal, but I just found that funny that, we're so close to this movie coming out and Oscar is saying, "Oh yeah, we're still making some changes to this thing." If it was anybody else, I'd be nervous, but Lord and Miller have never disappointed me. Got absorbed in trimming tiny trees. Lovely to have you here, Diana. I am feeling okay physically and completely stressed out mentally. So it's really fun to be able to be here and talk to folks about comics because, yeah, I do not want to think about anything else right now. Well, not always, Kevin, but sometimes. Sometimes. As long as we're talking about Spider-Verse, I hope that this concert idea spreads. But not last night, sorry, Friday night in Brooklyn, they had a full orchestra and a DJ playing the music for Into the Spider-Verse alongside a screening of the movie at a huge theater. So the composer, Daniel Pemberton, teamed with this company called Sembla. They put together live performances for things like this. And yeah, this is what they did. And they decided to do it in Brooklyn because, hold on, because that's where Miles is from. Look what I got, everybody. We're going to take a quick pause because we've got Kitty. We've got Kitty. Am I talking too loud for you? This is Lily. Oh, and there's Jack. Hi, Jack. You want to come here? I make those kissy sounds, and sometimes he comes to see me. Come here, buddy. Say hi to everybody. Yeah. Jack. This is Jack, and he's been doing something funny lately. I've got a clear backpack that he can sit in, and we go for walks together. And I keep it open, and Jack will climb to it when he wants to go for a walk. And so he's helping me with my health there. They're playing with each other down here. They don't care about me. Yeah, these guys are pretty adorable. Here, let's see. I don't think you've ever seen them both together. They don't want to be held right now. But we got Lily and Jackie. Meow. They're mad at me for trying to hug them. Maybe not mad. That's probably overstating things. Anyway, glad I could have a cameo by my cats. They make me happy. I don't know the documentary Cat Daddies, but I Cat Daddy. I love my cats. They're about 6 months old now, so they're getting big. Yeah, they came to see me, Chrissy. They'll come back to you in just a second. Oh, I misread at first, Salamander. I didn't think you said sitting. I thought you typed something much more obscene at first. And I was like, well, I can't share that, but that's cute. Yeah, the Jaguar twins. Yep, they are getting big. They're big babies. Thank you, One Bite. You guys are they're just playing with each other. They play with each other all the time, and they just cuddle all the time. They're great. I think Lily's a better name, Brad. Let me go back to the news. So this sounded great, and I went on Twitter, and people that went to the concert were posting clips on Twitter, and some people have uploaded this stuff to YouTube. It sounds so good. They got DJ Dwells to do the turntables, and the people playing the music is this company called Broadway Sinfonietta. So New York City based, all female orchestra, all let's see, what's the B stand for again? This is Indigenous and People of Color, right? What's the B stand for? All of a sudden I forget. Anyway, it sounds like the people like just were having the best time. The cheers and stuff when each sort of musical number ends, like just just great. I recommend going to Twitter or YouTube and looking it up. It looks like a really, really funny one. Funny? Fun. I'm distracted. Looked like a really fun one to see in person. Chrissy and I once went to see a screening of the movie Metropolis, which is a silent film, and we saw it with a full live orchestra, and it really did add to the experience. It really made you feel present. You know, it really took down the walls and made you like focus on the whole experience. It was great. Oh, look at that. I took a film class where a live piano player came in to play during the silent film Nosferatu, very similar to what I got to see for Metropolis. Anyway, uh, sounds fun. I don't know if this is going anywhere else. I really hope that it did well enough that it comes other places because I love that movie. I would love to see live musicians add to that. I think that sounds cool. You saw Metropolis with an organ. Okay, right on. Oh, B is just for black. Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess that was covered under people of color, so I sort of forgot. But thank you. Thank you for explaining. I appreciate that. So lucky to live so close to a vibrant cinema and arts community. Yeah, New York is cool sometimes. Sometimes New York is love the username Jimmy Stewart. Yeah. Anyway, uh, I thought that sounded great. We talked a little bit in the last few weeks about how Webtoon and DC have teamed up, and Webtoon does very well. You talking? Cat's talking. These three comics have all been announced as getting print editions. Makes sense. Batman Wayne Family Adventures and Vixen, they're going to be on shelves in August. Zatanna and the Ripper in October. And then it just explains that Wayne Family Adventures is episodes 1 through 25, specifically going on sale August 1st. All of them are $14.99. Sounds like a lot of comics for $14.99. Because an episode of Webtoon is pretty big, so 25 of those for $15. I don't know, just ballpark. It sounds right to me. That's definitely going to skew towards young adult readers, in my opinion. But that could sell very well potentially. It really could. You were hoping they would print these? For some of us, it's a little easier to get it that way. Yeah. Seeing a bunch of people have experiences going to see silent movies with live music. That's really cool to hear. Zatanna and the Ripper is probably my favorite one of all of DC's webtoons. Oh, that's great that somebody's in the chat that has experience reading them. Yeah. Thought I'd plug that. You know what? I'd love to talk about this, but I need to take a quick pause. I'm going to write down a message here to explain what's going on here because I need to go to the restroom really quickly, okay? Oh, huh. Interesting. I have I'd forgotten that I did this, but apparently I had a sketch originally of like that cover that I'm doing, and I totally forgot that I did that because I didn't go with this version. But that's it. That's kind of interesting. I didn't feel like the gorilla had enough of an expression, and I felt like the inking on Vampirella's face was too chunky. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah. Be right back. You're gonna have to talk to each other for just a couple minutes. Nothing I can do about it. I gotta. I'll be right back. We're back. Sorry, I was holding my cat so that I could dry my hands. Had to wash my hands, just drying him on his fur. I didn't. I didn't. Don't worry. Thank you, folks. Sorry about that. Had to use the restroom. It's all related to why I'm going to the hospital, but whatever. Yeah, it's an intermission. Exactly. Let's see how we stuff with the news, because I still want to do some reviews tonight of the comics of the week. Oh, I thought this was cool. Every year, the Beat, as in Comics Beat, teams up with the Center for Cartoon Studies to give out a prize. This year, for 2023, they're giving one for best print comic and one for best web comic. And here are just the nominees. So for print comic, we've got Ducks by Kate Beaton. That's a pretty hard one to beat. Frog in the Fall by Linnea Stert. Genevieve Castry, Complete Works. The High Desert, Black Punk Nowhere by James Spooner. Joseph Smith and the Mormons by Noah Van Sciver. I do want to read that one. I like Noah Van Sciver. He's pretty funny a lot of times. Keeping Two by Jordan Crane. My Badly Drawn Life by GP. Notes from a Sickbed by Teresa Brunton. The Peanut Butter Sisters and Other American Stories by Rumi Hara. Stray by Molly Mendoza. Talk to My Back by Yamada Murasaki. And Walk Me to the Corner by Anneli Furmark. I don't know all of them, but I know I love Ducks by Kate Beaton. So, and then here's the thing: the winner gets $1,000. It's a pretty nice prize. Best webcomics, we've got nominees: Darkest Night by Molly Knox Ostertag, Elephant Down by Danielle Corsetto. I know Danielle; she's great. I'm rooting for her there. Ever Onward Through the Fog by Arwen Donahue, Girl Juice by Benji Nate, The God of Arepo by Remina Yi, Helena by Michael Furler, Hold On by Angie Kang, Iconoclastic by Ali Fitzgerald, Long Neglect by Theo Stultz, Trans Classic Movies by Jet Allen, The Unseen Artistry of Women by Solveig Eva, let me see that, Magnusdottir? Yeah, probably Magnusdottir. Vivian's Ghost by Hal Shreve, and What's in a Name by Shay Mark. So 13 nominees for each thing. That's not small, but hey, $1,000. Oh, okay. Andy has some insight here. GP is incredible. I need to get My Badly Drawn Life. Well, that's a good recommendation that I will keep in mind then. Ducks was on a lot of best lists of channels I subscribe to, including this one. It's good. Let's see. Not me. I haven't been able to update my main comic since 2018. Well, good luck. Good luck. Only one I read was Ducks on your recommendation, and it was great. It's moving. It's really interesting. I didn't even know Molly Knox Ostertag had a new webcomic out. Well, good. Then if you like that person and you didn't know that, I'm glad I could pass that news on. We've got one last piece of news. And it ties back to something we were talking about earlier, which is that all of the MCU Disney Plus shows just lost their release dates, I think as of yesterday. Because we had release dates for stuff like Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2, but now, question mark. They've altered the release. They now just say coming soon. A lot of people think that we're still likely to get Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2 this year so that everything sort of lines up properly. But like Echo, something animated like X-Men 97, don't know. I think it's, again, part of Marvel reevaluating. Are they putting too much out? Are they putting it out without enough quality control? I think that that's what's going on here. I think that they're going to slow this stuff way down. Now, I will say, as a Disney Plus owner, I love it when I basically get a Star Wars show, and then as soon as that ends, I get to watch a Marvel show, and then maybe it goes to something else like, I don't know, Willow or whatever, and then it comes back to, Star Wars. I love that. But yeah, I could see that there's like it's probably hard to maintain quality control. Yeah, Marvel Zombies, don't know. Don't know when it's coming out. I think this makes sense in terms of exhaustion. Yeah, a lot of people, I agree. It's saturated. Willow is not officially canceled, but it's more like quiet canceled because I don't think it's likely to come back. But the writer says that it has not been officially canceled. They just don't have, anything on the schedule to move forward. Willow did not officially get canceled. That was going around in the news, but like this past week, the writer and showrunner for it spoke up and he says Disney did not actually cancel it. Just to be clear, they just have not set a plan for a season 2 yet. So we'll see. I kind of liked Willow. Okay, it wasn't excellent, but it was okay. I'm really surprised Secret Invasion is just getting a series that has had no buildup. It's not going to be the same like level as in the comics with like all the superheroes. It's more going to be a political thriller, like a Nick Fury type thing, where politicians and certain people have been replaced by Skrulls, seemingly. And there's a bunch of characters from like sort of that more Captain America world that are in it, like Sharon Carter, things like that. Jim, nice to have you here, man. The Spider-Man musical was a weird and wacky experiment. Your new vid was very informative and entertaining. Oh, thank you so much for watching it. That means a lot to me. I really do appreciate it. It was weird. It was weird. Hey, you know what? As long as we're talking about the Spider-Man musical, there were a couple like things that I didn't include there, but I guess still had some thoughts. One thing maybe I should have included. I don't know. Uh, any of you know that song "Radioactive" by Imagine Dragons? Well, that was originally created as a concept for the Spider-Man musical. The producer of that was working with U2 at the time, and he was having certain bands that like hadn't necessarily made it yet. Like he was, paying them to basically come up with sort of pitches, and that was one of their pitches for a song for the Spider-Man musical. But then the producer was like, you know what, this is so good, make it your own thing, and we're gonna like come out with a whole album. But yeah, that song "Radioactive" was originally created as a song for the Spider-Man musical, which is pretty crazy. By the producer, I definitely mean George Santos. Let's see. Do you see the Wait in the Wings video on the Spider-Man musical? I saw it recommended to me. I haven't watched it yet because I wanted to make my own. But yeah. Oh, thank you for watching the mid-credit sequence. Yeah, I was thinking of doing it as an intro if Ken had been available to do it with me, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him, so I had to move forward. So instead, I just edited clips to sort of give the idea and just sort of put that in the mid credits. Yeah. the good music could have saved it. I maintain that some of the songs in it are good, not great, but good. I like Freak Like Me. I like Rise Above. I like Boy Falls from the Sky. They had it that one had like sort of the theme, their version of the Spider-Man theme, and it was a good theme. I had to be very careful with how I edited this episode because you use more than a few seconds on one thing and it gets claimed, and you can't make money on it. So it's really hard. It took a long time. It's so crazy because I had no idea what the actual story was for the musical. So hearing you talk about it, I was like, holy shit. That's the other thing. Thank you for reminding me. So obviously, Julie Taymor went in a very strange direction with her idea for Arachne. And you're like, well, where did that come from? You know, like this idea. If you watch my video, it mentions that specifically Marvel wanted her to adapt the ideas from Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through 7. That was like that was a story arc versus Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, and the origin from Amazing Fantasy 15, his Spider-Man's first appearance. She didn't really do that. But if you read issue 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man, the first 2 pages are Norman Osborn in a lab experimenting with spiders and stuff and talking to an employee. And he's talking about the myth of Arachne and her lack of humility and how she was punished by the gods. I sincerely feel that Julie Taymor went like 2 pages in and she was like, yeah, I'm not read the rest of these comics. I've got it. I really do. And I probably should have put that in too. I don't know. It was crazy is all I can say. Thank you very much for jumping in on the stream. I appreciate it. I don't think Switch will be introduced in the comics, but never say never, because if you're reading right now in the adjectiveless Spider-Man title that Dan Slott is writing, he has worked in Shathra, who is a mythological being that shares a lot of similarities, to be fair, with Arachne. But he takes it in a different and more cohesive direction. It was a weird story. But I had a good time at it. You love her hot chocolate. Yeah, just of like, oh, the Sister Six. It won't matter if I throw in one of my own. I'm going to use Swarm and Carnage too. Like, wait, what? What? That's a great point, Clay. If you want to know more about the behind the scenes of the musical than what I'm able to share in basically, you know, like a 30, 40-minute video, the co-writer of the original book I mentioned in the video, a guy named Glenn Berger, he wrote a behind the scenes tell-all about the thing. So Glenn Berger, he wrote a book that you can get a lot more. Yeah, J. Michael Straczynski did have a lot of magic stuff in it. That wasn't my personal favorite era, but it was coming out at about the same time as this musical. And I think that like just sort of bolstered their confidence, going like, oh yeah, there's all sorts of stuff about, you know, spider totems and mystical stuff. Reeve Carney has previously known for on that. Well, yeah, I mean, because he's kind of only done what Spider-Man and Hadestown. So yeah, I'm sure he still has Spider-Man on his credits. He's still a pretty young guy. Anyway, I appreciate you folks taking a look at those. That means a lot to me. Let's take a look at some of the comics that came out this week, and I'm going to do this briefly, but I do have some recommendations. So I wanted to throw this in here. I'm going to turn on this light so that we can see that a little better. Yeah. First one I'll mention here. Oh, and since he's here, so this is a new book, No One, issue 1, written by Kyle Higgins, Radiant Black. Art, also written with Brian Buccellato and artist Geraldo Borges. I'm guessing at name pronunciations, but he's in the chat. Jim Mafu did a variant cover. Unfortunately, my store didn't have that, Jim, so I didn't. But I saw your art at Emerald City Comic Con, and that was great. This has sort of a superhero in it, but this is a gritty crime thriller of a killer who targets like wealthy people that aren't being held accountable for their crimes. And there are copycat killers. It's a deep mystery. I have not come across a mystery like that has this much backstory in quite a while. There's a lot of backstory to this. Here's the cool gimmick about this. At the back here, there's this QR code and a website. They are producing a true crime podcast to go with this, with some really great voice actors. The main one is what's her name? Hold on, they've got her credits back here. Rachel Lee Cook, but also Patton Oswalt. The only criticism I'll have is listening to that podcast. It's only like about a 30-minute like podcast per issue or anything. It sounds incredible, by the way. It legit sounds like one of these professional true crime podcasts, and it's very captivating. It's totally listenable. It's really, really good. But I almost feel like you have to know that to get everything out of this. You don't have to, but it helps a lot. You get a lot more context of what happened before this began if you listen to the True Crime Podcast. So I like the idea of the tie-in media, but maybe not everybody wants to feel obligated to do that. It is very well done, though. Very well done. And my buddy Mark Englert, who colored my Vampirella cover, is also doing sort of posters for it. So that's really cool. I do recommend it. It's very unique, folks. And it did sell out instantly on the distributor level. So this is going back to second printings. The X-Cellent has returned. I have made a video on Comic Tropes about how much I loved Ecstatics by Peter Milligan and Michael Allred and Laura Allred, and they're back. They had season 1 of the X-Cellent. They took a hiatus, and now it is back. If you like Mike Allred, man, he's so consistent. He's so consistent. And this finally starts to really explain a little bit more about the villain, Zeitgeist. He is a piece of crap. You know who he reminds me of? The version of Homelander from the Boys TV show. He's that dangerous and manipulative. Just threatens everyone around him and cows them because he's powerful. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. This is interesting because it's like half of it is about the good guys and half of it is about the bad guys. There's not too many comics that are quite like that. Nocterra also came back after a small hiatus. When we last left, the main character, Val, seemed to be about to die. Something changes with her, but most of this issue follows her supporting cast stepping up and taking a proactive lead before Val comes back in a different form. It opens up a lot of questions about the behind the scenes. It's hard to say that this issue individually is like the one to read, but I do love the world building of Nocterra. It's a world where the sun is somehow just not showing. And if you are in the dark for a while, you become a monster. You become a shade. Anything living does. Anything living does. So every city is just constantly lit up 100% of the time. And the heroes that we follow transport things between these distant towns in really well lit up convoy rigs. It's interesting. But it's a big ongoing story, so it's hard to recommend a single issue as standing out. This book is so ambitious, folks. Danger Street is taking characters from about 15 different one-shots that DC did in the 70s, including Lady Cop, which I made an episode about, and Manhunter, and the Green Team. All these different one-shots, and it's crafting a story involving 15 different lead characters. It's pretty bonkers. It's so ambitious. I don't know what else to say. This is a big, big story, and the villains are these preteen kids that have billions and billions of dollars. They're so despicable. So despicable. But it's cool. It's got a lot of different types of characters. A lot. It's got kids, it's got lady cop, it's got gods, it's got warriors, it's got magicians. So it's got just like regular teenagers that just like, are friends. It's got so many different personalities and backgrounds all meshing and crossing paths. It's weird. It's so weird. Yeah, exactly. It's such a pull. Well, they're all from DC first issue special, which was like this idea to try out all these different characters and see what took off. Some of them were popular before or took off right after, like the Creeper or Warlord, um, things like that. And some of them just sort of have become forgotten. Berserker wrapped up. This series really hooked my interest for the first 3 or 4 issues, and then I sort of lost interest in it. This is Keanu Reeves' book, like his idea, but written with Matt Kint, art by Ron Garney, which is very good. Some really clever people working on this. Bill Crabtree on colors, Clem Robbins on letters. This is an extra big issue to wrap things up. It gets very sci-fi. It ends in an area like, actually, this issue I liked. I wish that instead of this huge big issue, that they'd taken some of these concepts and sprinkled that in the last several issues. It felt like the story was longer than it needed to be. It felt like the story was like, there is a story in here, but I don't think it needed to be 12 issues. I legit think it could have been told in 6 or 7. It's about an immortal guy that happens to look just like Keanu Reeves, and he remembers everything from his past. And in the modern day, the government is trying to figure out why he's immortal and using him on Black Ops missions. And it goes in some weird sci-fi directions right at the end. And I guess they wanted that to be like a big reveal, but I think it might have suited the story for pacing better if they started hinting that earlier. I wanted to like it more than I did. There's a good story in there, but it didn't quite work for me. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Keanu Reeves as Wolverine, a little bit. This one I liked more than I expected to. This is issue 2 of Last Ronin, The Lost Years, which fills in the period between when the last surviving Ninja Turtle lost his brothers and Splinter, and when the Last Ronin comic starts, where he's going up against Shredder's grandson in the near future. And it also introduces 4 new baby mutant turtles that are being trained by April O'Neil, or Grammy April as they call her, and her daughter, Casey, named after her father, Casey Jones. It's got action. It's got heartfelt drama. It's hard to say this, what this is without giving away Last Ronin. I recommend reading Last Ronin. It's a good comic, and this is a worthy successor. It fills in an unknown period, but it does make it very relevant to the character's growth. Cat's sneaking in again. 2 more that I wanted to mention. Nemesis Reloaded looks gorgeous. Jorge Jimenez is a talent, no question. But the bad guy here is like Batman on crack. Everything he plans, he's a bad guy, but everything he plans works perfectly. He never has a hiccup. He never has anything slow him down or become an obstacle. And he's just mean-spirited and ruins people's lives and targets good people. It's depressing. I don't know why I'm still reading this. I really don't. And the last one I'll mention is I read the latest issue of House of Slaughter, which is actually a very quick read this time, but it gives us more background on Jace Boucher, who was a hunter of monsters, and instead now finds other orphans like he had become and just raises them to try to be kids, but one of them is being recruited by the house that trained him to be a killer of monsters, and he wants to save this kid from being corrupted. It's a good story. Do you think Nemesis is Grendel done right? No, I think it's Grendel done wrong. Grendel is great. Grendel is really interesting. I love Grendel. Grendel's so ambitious, and it's about something. But Nemesis is just sort of mean-spirited, and it's like having a villain that can do no wrong. I don't know. It's frustrating. Nemesis looks intriguing. No, the artist is great. Jorge Jimenez is a talent. There's nothing bad to say about the art by Jorge. Nothing to say. Very, very good. Looks great. No shortcuts. Lots of good choices in the storytelling there. Lots of good choices. Some people will probably like this kind of nihilistic story. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. For me, I didn't really care for it. Yeah, I do think of it as Mark Miller sort of trying to be edgelord, which, if that's what he's trying to do, he does it well. It appeals to certain people. I get it. I don't know. I guess I'm mostly reading it just out of like, yeah, I'm still sort of curious about it, but it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't give me a good feeling, which not everything needs to do, so I'm giving it a chance. I want the villain to get his comeuppance, but I kind of feel like it might have. We'll see. If it happens too abruptly, that's going to be frustrating too. I want to see taken down a pig, not just beaten quickly. But that's what I read this week. That's the news of the week. The big news is just that I in yet. I'll just confide that, that I had to go to the ER last night, and the doctor there ruled out a bunch of things, which is nice. Although I wish maybe it had been some of those things. He said, that what he'd have my specialist look at is for cancer. That's his concern. That's my concern too. But I'll tell you this also, folks. I'm not trying to be dramatic. If it is cancer, it's a very treatable form. So I'm not necessarily panicking. It's stressful until I know more. And I'm sure it's stressful for me to even bring that up. Don't really worry too much. Really don't worry too much, because no matter what it is, there's gonna be something to do for it. It's not gonna be too bad, but yeah, there's a really good chance that it's a form of cancer, which is frustrating, because I just feel like I'm kind of young for that. But maybe that's just ego talking. We all get older. It can happen to anybody. But if it is, it's very treatable. It's very treatable. Yeah, I agree, Diana. Not knowing is the hardest. So that's the hardest part. So I've already reached out to a specialist that I've been referred to, and once I talk to them, that should definitely give me some good information. Tell you what, here's something more positive to look at. I just realized that I had these here. I don't buy toys a whole lot, but I got some cool toys that I'm going to open and show you real quick. This is something that I got at Emerald City Comic-Con, because I love the Spy Family manga. I love it. It's great. And if I'm being honest, one of my favorite characters is definitely Anya. She's precocious. And I got a little action figure of here that I'm trying to open. Let's see. Hold on. She comes with a bunch of extra heads and hands, but they're very, very small. But that's a pretty expressive character, huh? Very superposable, actually. Does not balance very well for standing up because she's got super tiny feet. So you do need some like help of like a stand or something. But I love the expression. I love the posability. And this hair, this is so funny. This is for like also all the characters in the Spy Family toy series here. You take the hair off like this, and then this head pegs in and out, and I can select different expressions, like her thinking that she's being stealthy. And it slides in really easily, and I do kind of like that. So, I can just snap the hair back in, and that was pretty quick. And there I've got her like acting like she's being sneaky. So I got a kick out of that. And then I got another one that I hadn't heard talked about anywhere, but I thought I'd show you guys real quick. Let me put this away. I don't get a lot of toys. So like, when I see an action figure that looks really unique or something that I don't feel like I'm going to get anywhere else and represents a comic that I like, I'm a sucker for that. I'm definitely a sucker for that. I got Popeye. This is from something called Boss Fight Studios. I don't know Boss Fight Studios, like what else they do. I only, these days, I don't collect many toys. I'm trying to like just sort of be better with my money. I do get G.I. Joe Classified. I am a completionist there, but those actually come out so slowly that it's not that hard to collect them. Let's see. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm trying desperately to open this, but it's like, there's so much tape and packaging and stuff like that. Hold on, I just have to scrape away at the tape here. Yeah, there we go. Let me open this up. How do I open it up? Oops, I'm just ripping the box up. Oh, well. Let's take a look at Popeye here. Oh, let's see. Next cosplay I may do is Anya from Spy Family. I'm sure that would be popular with a lot of people, Steve. She's a great character. Is this taped? No, this isn't. Oh, it's just tight. How do they do this? Bottom flap? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Come on out, Popeye. Let's see. Let's take a look at you up close. Oh, his hat comes off. That's interesting. Does his pipe come out? I don't think so. Huh. Actually, the hat... That's interesting. The hat apparently just sort of precariously balances on his head. That's a little weird. Let me get... Oh, Boss Fight did the Bucky O'Hare toys? That's kind of cool. Happy for Larry Hama there. Good proportions. Yeah, the posability seems... Actually, it's got a lot of different... Okay, yeah, it's hinged and jointed everywhere. Lots of... The only thing is, like, if you were putting it on a stand, you could have his hat on his head, but if you were, like, leaning it back like this or something, it's about to just sort of fall off. Yeah, it's not on there, like, tight or anything. But that looks good to me. Popeye's great. I would love to do an episode about Popeye. There's a lot to talk about, though, so I have to sort of find an angle of something smaller that I could focus on about him. Maybe just the original creator, or like maybe when Popeye got introduced to Thimble Theater. But there's a lot to talk about with E.C. Cigar and Popeye. There's a lot. I think that Popeye is definitely an early version of almost a superhero. Almost, because he's very strong. Let's see, a lot of Boss Fight people used to work for Hasbro. Oh, well, that's very interesting to learn. I wonder if that had any of the appeal, like with the design and sculpt. I'll be honest, while the proportions are different when you say that, Diana, there are a lot of choices on where they've hinged certain parts here that do mimic the classified things. So that's kind of cool. And he comes with a second sort of expression there. He comes with some extra hands and, of course, spinach. Spinach! I seem to have the diabetes completely under control these days. Thank you. I am diabetic, but nothing seems bad about that these days. I think I'm just getting older and possibly cancer ridden. So that's the current challenge. But whatever, if it is, then it is. Oh, I've never read those. Popeye's 80s comics. I wants me spinach. A little bit of spinach, methinks. EJ, thank you so much. I always love having you here, man. It means a lot to me that you watch the show, and I can't wait to see what kind of stuff you do next. I hope that, when Transformers gets announced at the next label, that we'll get to see some more Transformers comics by you. I know you've done a lot. Maybe you're tired of them, but I think you do great Transformers. And I hope that maybe Test Kitchen ends up in print sometime so that more people can discover it. That would be lovely. Popeye, the first 50 years is great. Okay. Spinach doesn't actually have a lot of iron. Old books and science can be very entertaining to read sometimes. I was reading a magazine I came across. This is just totally random. I want to say it might have been Omni, but it was really old. It was like 1950s or 60s. And like, what do your old oil from when you swap it out from your car? They were like, just put some rocks in your backyard and pour it over the rocks. It'll get absorbed into the ground and is now harmless. I was like, oh my God. You're just like telling all of America to poison its water supply. But okay. Yeah, I always thought his hair was black and white. Rabbits aren't obsessed with carrots. They prefer greens. Oh my God. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Mandela. That's really nice of you. Look up the previous thing by Spy Family. Okay, will do. I'll try to keep that in mind. Oh, wow, another super chat. I've had family who have had that same anguish of waiting. News came, challenge met head on. No matter what, you'll do the same. Yep. Got no choice, right? Anyway, you guys have all helped make tonight a lot more entertaining. Both the people that are chatting with me live, as well as all of you that watch this as soon as it gets archived. Some crazy news this week. I'm excited to see what comes next week. But let me end with one last plug. And if you would consider going to Indiegogo, that's the only place you can get my cover. It's available for a little while longer. I'm very proud of it. I think it's funny. There's a lot more tropes than just what you see here. There's an homage, but there's tropes. And, if it does well, that's just going to lead to more opportunities for both myself and other comic YouTubers. So we'll see. Nope, didn't get the JoJo land. Sorry. But thanks, everybody, for joining me. You've made tonight very, very pleasant. I think I am going to get some dinner and get to work on the next Comic Tropes episode. So I will see you soon. Let's close it like we close this show with not just one salute, not just two salutes, but the actual formal double salute. You earned it. Take care, everybody. Keep reading comics.